Hey guys, I'm Suraj and welcome to the fourth part of my Python Basics tutorial series. In this video, what I'm going to be talking about are loops in Python to be exact. And I'm going to be building on this code. So if you don't have it, you can either check out my tutorial about if statements in which I cover this code. But you can also just copy the code from GitHub, and I'll put the link for both in the description section below. And I'm just going to get started now. So, what is a loop? A loop is basically repeating over parts of a program. In a real password program, if you get the password wrong, then it's gonna really repeat over that part, it's gonna say again, enter your password, that was incorrect, and so and so and so. So it's gonna repeat. That's why I think it was a okay idea to cover this in this cover loops within this password checking program rather than create a whole new thing. So if you guys are a little confused about what a loop is, I'm just gonna be showing you. So don't worry if you don't understand this. I'll be covering it in a second. And do indent this region. So oops, I dedented that. One indent. Okay, so do indent this region. And what is this while true thing? Well, while true basically means forever. And I actually don't really know why they decided to call it while true. I think that's because while true, while this program is running, while this program is true, or maybe it's something like that, but I'm honestly really not sure. But what this basically means is forever. So it's gonna do this forever. And what is it gonna do forever? It's gonna check our password forever, and this is not gonna really be what we do what we want, but I'm just gonna show you why that is. So if I remember from last time, my password was food. Yes, it was food. And as you can see, this is going on forever. Yay, that was the right password. Yay, that was the right password. And I've also just realized that I think in the last tutorial it was password and not password. So I think that was a little error that I did, but it's fine. I mean, this is not a spelling tutorial or anything. But as you can see, this is going on forever. And how do you break out of this without closing this window? Control-C. And it's going to say keyboard interrupt. And you can see how long this printed for. So that's a lot. And why isn't it asking for our password again? If we look in our program, it says password input, enter your password. Why isn't it asking for that? Because that part is outside the loop. So the loop is only going to do the things that are part of the loop. So usually it's gonna be like this indented region here. So this much is gonna be like the area the loop is gonna repeat on. So let's imagine we're the program now, and also I think that this was on top. So I think I've changed a few things. I don't know why I did that, but it's just a few changes. It doesn't really matter the order of this part. So let's imagine we're the program. We're defining these two variables. Then we're asking for the password. And then we're starting the loop. So we're asking for the password first, then we're starting the loop. And then we're checking the password. Okay, is it right? Yes, it is right. That's why we're going to print, yay, that was the right password. But again, this variable hasn't changed. It's still the exact same. So again, we do this. And then we're going to skip this elif and else part, and we're going to go directly back to the loop because this is an if statement that's just going to ignore these two if this is true. So if that is true, yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're going back to the start of this loop. So we're going back to here, and we're checking again. And really, since we're not changing this variable, it's going to always do that, forever until you make it stop or close the window. So it's going to continuously do that forever, and that's not the thing we want. So we can make this a little better if we also ask for the, actually I'm going to cut. So we can make, now what's going to happen, it's going to define these variables. That's not going to change because we don't, these variables are not going to change. That's why we don't need them in the loop. So it's going to define these variables. Then it's going to start the loop. And I put this in the wrong place. So yeah, that space is going to give me an error. Okay, so we're going to start this loop. And then we're going to ask for the password first, or at least Python is. So it's going to ask for the password. Then it's going to check the password. If this is right, okay, do this and then go to the start of the loop. If not, then check if this is right, password 2. If this is right, go back to the start of the loop. And if not, do this, print no, that wasn't the right password, and go back to the start of the loop. So this is, and when it's back at the start of the loop, it's going to do this again. This is not really how the password program will work, but we're getting closer. So, food, yay, that was the right password. Yummy, yeah, that was password 2, because that was password 2, or, oh my gosh, where? Okay, so, yeah, that was password 2, and if I type food again, yay, that was the right password. Yummy, that was the right password. If I just type some random letters and stuff like that, nope, it's gonna say no, that wasn't the right password, and it's continuously gonna do this. Yes, I do want to kill it. So, but in a real password program, what would happen is it's gonna break out of this loop. So if one of these two are right, it's gonna break out of this loop. And how are we supposed to break out of this loop? It's as simple as saying break, and also break here. So what this basically does is it's gonna ask, so again it's gonna define these variables, it's gonna ask for our input. If this statement is right, it's gonna break out of the loop. So it's gonna print this out, and then it's gonna break out of the loop. If not, then it's gonna check for this. If this is right, it's gonna print that was password 2, and it's gonna break out of the loop. Or and otherwise, it's just gonna print this, and it's gonna go back to the start. So if I run that now, and if I type food, it's gonna say yeah, that was the right password, and it's gonna break out. But if I type not food, it's gonna continuously ask me not food. And this is like highlighting it. If you're wondering why it's highlighting this, it's because it's just gonna highlight this because this is a shell window, and anything you type in here, if it's a Python keyword or Python function, it's just gonna highlight it. So don't worry about that. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, getting back to our program. But if I type yummy, which was the second password, it's gonna say that was password 2, and it's gonna break out. So okay, we're like getting there. And also this order matters, especially when you're in like a while true loop. It's gonna matter because if you're gonna do this, why is that indented? There. So if I run this now, it's gonna break out of the loop first. So if I type in, I'm gonna first type in some random stuff like that. Now if I type in food, it's gonna break out of the loop first. So it's gonna do this, it's gonna break out of the loop before it even gets to printing this. So yeah, do remember the order. So that is one type of loop. And this is gonna go on forever. Whereas in like a real, I think in a real password program, it's gonna do this a lot of times, and then it's gonna say nope, that's too many tries, done. You can't. It's gonna send you like a pin or something. It's gonna send you like a notification on your recovery device or something saying that hey, type in this pin, blah blah blah. Probably that has never happened to me, because I remember my passwords like a good boy, but I think that's gonna happen. So now what if we want to say do this for a couple of times and then just say no, that it's too late now, bye bye. So then we're gonna do something called a for loop. And what is a for loop? It's gonna do it for a couple of times. So if I do for, you need a variable name. So here, so I'm gonna call this count in. I'll be explaining this in a second. Okay, so what is this? Now, what this basically means that you have a variable called count, and you have this range of 10. So what's gonna happen is the first time in this range, count is going to be assigned the value 0, because 0 is the first number in Python. So unless you explicitly say that start counting from 1, it's going to by default start from 0. So it's going to start from 0. So count is 0, okay? And just to make things a little clearer, I'm also going to print count. So it's going to assign this the first time, and it's going to run this loop. Then it's going to assign count a value for the second time. It's going to run this loop for the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. And by the time it's at 10th, the number is going to be 9. So after that, it's just going to stop this stuff. So no, that was not the right password. And it's just going to stop. So now if I run this, so it's gonna say 0 because it was the 0th time it was doing this. 0th is basically like saying first, but 0th, well, it's like the 0th time technically, because the first time is when it's 1, but 1 is the second time. So 0th or first, whatever you'd like to call it. So so if I call this, I'm gonna purposely get my passwords wrong all the time. So, I'm gonna zoom in. So you can see it did this 9 times and then stopped. And yeah, so this is better. And finally, if we yeah, so it's doing this a few times, and I'm gonna also show this if I type the right password. So I'm gonna do some random stuff, and then if I do this, oh yeah, so I forgot to, yeah, so it did that again because I forgot to add break. So if I add break here, I am sorry, I forgot that. So I've added break. So if I do some random stuff like that, and now if I type in yummy, it's gonna say that was password 2 and it's gonna break. So this is better, but there's also one other way we can do this. This is a, now we don't necessarily need to use this. I just want to show it. So this is called a while loop. So so I'm gonna say password true equals false. And just so you know, we are assigning password true as a Boolean value. So this basically means it's false. It's not true. So we can do while password true equals false. So what this basically does is, while this variable's value is false, it's gonna continue looping, and instead of having this break here, we can do password true equals to true. So now what's happening here? Okay, you have assigned this variable a value of false. Then while this variable, in this case password true, is false, it's gonna do this. It's gonna, we don't need count if it's gonna give us an error. So it's gonna ask for an input. If the input is the password, it's gonna print yay, that was the right password, and it's gonna set this value to true. So the next time we're gonna go here, it's gonna say, is password true still true? No, it's not. Is password true still false? And it's gonna say, nope, it's not. It's true. Look, we defined it here. So, and that way it's gonna say, that's way it's gonna break out of this loop. So this is like saying break while true, and if it's this break, but instead of using break, we're just saying set this value to true. And I think I've used this loop more times. I just think that in this case it's not really necessary. I just wanted to show it to you. So if I just type in that, it's gonna say that was not the right password. But if I type in food, it's gonna say yeah, that was the right password, and it's gonna break out. Now this is it for loops, and I'm gonna go back to the for loop. So for count in range. So again, what is the for loop? It goes for a specific amount of times. So I'm not gonna print count because I think you guys must have understood it by now. And okay, we're gonna do this. We don't need that. We're just gonna do break. We don't need that. We're just gonna do break. And we also don't need that. And okay, now for 10 times, it's gonna do this. And actually, I shouldn't have done that. So you'll see why I'm keeping that in a minute. Yeah, I'll explain why I'm doing this in a minute. So no password. So why I'm doing this is that after this loop, we can create an if statement saying that if the so if the person got the right password, then we're gonna display them some secret information. If not, we're just gonna say, oops, too late, you had too many tries. So again, I'm gonna use an if statement here, and I'm gonna say if. So if you're still a bit confused, I'm gonna go through this program in a minute. So if password true equals true, then we're gonna say print secret. Python was, or not was, it is the best programming language ever. So, and else print too many tries you failed. Okay, so I'm gonna go through this now. So what's gonna happen? We're gonna set this variable as food, the password as food, the second password as yummy, and we're gonna set this variable called password true equals false. And then for 10 times, we're gonna loop over this. And sometimes people use like a fancy word for a loop called iterate, but I'm just gonna say loop over this. And if the password is right, then we're going to set this as this variable, we're going to change its value to true. If the second password is right, we're going to change this variable's value to true. Otherwise, we're just going to print no, that was not the right password, and we're going to do this 10 times. If it's right, then we are also going to break out of this loop. And after we break out of this loop or the loop is over, we're going to check if if password true is true. So if it's true, meaning if this has happened, then we're going to say secret, Python is the best programming language ever. And if not, we're going to print too many tries, you failed. So I hope you get that. And so this is basically like saying after this whole loop has been done, or we have broken out of it, then we're just going to check if the person had entered the right password. If yes, we're going to do this. Otherwise, we're just going to say too many tries, you failed. So I'm going to run this. So I'm going to first just type, I'm not going to do this on the first try, so QWERTY, nope. So I'm just going to do a few other things like that. And then if I do food, it's going to say Python is the best programming language ever. Why? Because here we said password true equals true. And then after we broke out of this loop, it's going to say the secret. But now if I just I'm just going to type like numbers. I am too lazy to just like type random letters also. And I think that's 10. Is it 10 yet? Yeah, that's 10 now. So no, that was not the right password. And then because we never redefined this variable as true, it's just going to say, nope, that was too many tries, you failed. And why is it saying that? Because we never defined it as true after this. That's why it's still false. So I hope you guys understood something and learned something new. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, whatever, just put them in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Until then, bye.